When we think about our mind, our emotions, and our ability to connect with one another, we don't typically think about technology, but we should, because the future of the human mind is, in fact, an exponential technology story. And as we navigate the future of work and society, we must harness technology to assist us in putting out the fires of the human mind, in getting the skills in place for social and emotional well-being, and for unlocking the bonus levels of human cognition. Like many, when I look at the headlines these days, I feel a sense of urgency about the state of the human mind. But I also have a great deal of optimism because of the work that I'll share with you today. But first, I have to tell you a story and a confession. The story is this. Once upon a time, I ran operations for World of Warcraft China for Blizzard Entertainment, one of the largest branches of one of the largest video games in the entire world. This puts me as a member of a very small club of people who have operated games at this scale. Also, because of the size of my business, this makes me, or made me, one of the most senior women in video games globally. I was living the life in Shanghai, my apartment was in the New York Times, I had a very active social life. And this is the confession. Though I was successful by all accounts, I was living with a very high level of loneliness and a sadness about that I told few people about. When I was very young, I made a decision based on child's logic that I thought that I would be alone and that I would have to take care of myself. And so this hyper-independence compounded as I aged, and I felt less and less connected. So when I read the statistics about the loneliness epidemic, I get it. I really, really get it. From my experience, loneliness is not about how many people you know, how many friends you have, how many face-to-face interactions you have. It has everything to do with how interconnected you feel. And so often, many of us have made decisions based on child's logic. But we don't often have a chance to break free of those. I'm very lucky. I did. And I did it in southern Japan in a garden outside of Kyoto. Somehow, I found my way to a Vipassana meditation retreat. And in 10 days, I left happier than I had ever been in my life, and unafraid. I now know that the human mind grows fearless when the chatter goes low. And I now know that when the noise goes down, the ability to connect with others goes up. And I remember how I felt in that moment when I understood that. And I thought that maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't be alone. And with that, the sadness lifts. And I felt more alive than I had in all of my years of accomplishment, and more alive than I had in all my travels, and even in the ring. And I do what anyone who has been in a prison of the mind does when they see a break in the wall. I go for it. And I fly out free. First, I want freedom for all who I love. And then I want it for everyone. For you, like for us, like all of us. And so this leads me to psychology, neuroscience, and technology. psychology and neuroscience because I really had to understand what happened to me. And also because I believe first principles of the human condition will always bring you back to the human mind. And then to technology, because since it is that force that takes what is scarce and makes it abundant, it also makes things scalable, accessible, and affordable. So why not also for the human mind? So I'm not an auto-rejecter of technology. Being on the back end of WOW, I saw friendships and connections and marriages. And so I do believe, from my personal experience, that it can bring people together. But it does need to be better designed, and it needs to be human-centered. And so I asked the questions, what if it could support us mentally and emotionally? For happiness, connection, meaning-making, emotional self-regulation, creativity, imagination, lowering our fear, raising our empathy, compassion, wisdom. What about joy? So this led me to co-found the Transformative Technology movement. We are a group of entrepreneurs and innovators who leverage technology for mental health, emotional well-being, and human thriving. We're in 69 countries and 450 cities, and we ask, what if technology could help us access our inner landscape, to know ourselves better than any outside algorithm? Could we elevate the well-being and flourishing of 1 billion people by 2030? 2 billion by 2050? Why not? So in order to take you through this, I've got to show you the spectrum of how we see the human mind. So on one side, you have what we call basic skills. So these need interventions for stress, anxiety, depression, the basic skills of life. And then in the middle, we have what we call the future of work skills. And so these are the social emotional skills. If you look at any of the statistics about what's coming with the future of work, the things that people will need in order to work in the future will be things like collaboration, communication, creativity, those types of skills. And so in a world where all of the rote tasks go away, these skills will become requirements and not luxuries. So emotional intelligence is going to become a requirement and not a luxury. But what's really scary is today we expect people to pick these skills up from the culture. If you think about it, just think about it for a second. The most important skills for the future, for being compensated, the future of work and a future of automation, we expect people to pick these up from the culture, which is another word for luck. Did your parents know it? Did you have a mentor? Did you have a teacher? Did you have someone, a company? Did you have someone who could teach you these things? And so this is a very good use of technology. Then the last category is what we call future of life. This is expanding and enhancing our abilities and our capacities to connect with one another, to sense one another as we create together. So we track 12 different areas of transformative technology. These are in various stages of productization, but they're all coming. Emerging, yes. Coming, absolutely. And so what this means is we will be able to use technology in order to penetrate the higher levels of the hierarchy. Now, this also means that we have to get the ethics, privacy, and data sovereignty in place. And I'm a big advocate of that in other forums. I'd like to show you a map of how I see the world, which includes using the exponential technologies to assess, amplify, expand, and connect how we can support the human mind across all of these areas. To begin with, though, I'd like you to imagine a little bit with me. Imagine if you knew yourself better than the ad sellers, if you knew yourself better than Facebook, And if you had that information available to you in an interface that could allow you to chart your course and expand into that. And imagine if we could amplify our best teachers and our best therapists, or close distances in ways that we can't even imagine that allow us to connect more deeply with one another. So think about this as we go through the next 3 steps. So the first one, level 1, putting out the fires. And I'm just going to very quickly show you a bunch of different products, really so that you understand that this is real. This is not a theory. This is real. So today, this looks like meditation apps and stress apps and heart rate variability apps, emotion recognition. Tomorrow, it looks like precision food, mood subscriptions, and haptics. Level 2 is getting the skills in place. So today, what that looks like is things like Happify and HRV training. There's a company that's found a tie between heart rate variability and rumination, which is incredibly exciting. Tomorrow, that looks like AI support. Why can't AI challenge our meaning making? Meaning making is one of the most important skills for success in life. 3, unlocking the bonus levels. So I spoke to a woman who runs innovation for a Fortune 500 company, and she said this, which I thought was amazing. She says that her team has to think of things that no one has thought of yet. And for that, she sees her role as their manager as helping them access the best, most creative part of themselves. And so what that looks like today is AR and VR, team building, where teams get to run scenarios one after the next while being coached, or behavior tracking, that really, this is the very early stage of getting to the type of product I described where you can really see who you are and use it to optimize towards who you'd like to be. But tomorrow, I think one of the most profound and important discoveries we will make is that we will understand group flow, and we will use technology to witness, then recreate at will the cascade of biosignals that allow people to have group flow. And when that happens, it will completely change human society. It will change teams, it will change companies, it will change families, it will change communities, because we like to be together. The problem today is that most of the people working on the human mind are working in silos. But we have to elevate the maturity of the human mind in order to live in this environment that we have created. And so we very much need a challenge on the human mind on the same level as some of these other very worthy challenges. We need a challenge around human cognition and mental and emotional well-being. And we need it so that we can inspire and coordinate and, at the very least, share insights and progress. And this is so that we can harness our brain's plasticity, enhance our cognition, refine our behavior, and elevate our minds. Imagine a future where we can all get past things that have happened to us, where we have the ability to deeply connect with one another, where we have the ability to experience compassion, to give and receive love, and to know that we are not alone. So join us, build transformative technologies. If this is your skill set, put it to this use. Build transformative companies and call for a global challenge alongside with us. Because this is the great work of our time. Thank you.